Listen to what they said. So Lally is talking to this girl, right? Which leads me to believe that this is somebody from the last trial that they didn't talk to. He has a relationship. He ordered the testing, same testing that they probably used before. And that's probably why she's giving the time of the incident as 12:45, because that's Lally's timeline. And she's not there at 12:45. She's home 10 minutes before that, 9 minutes before that. And Jenn, 12:40, everyone, 12:45. Remember, Jackson's asking her about, you saw the car at 12:45. You're calling 12:45. They all said 12:45 was basically their time of death.
Now, again, you'll hear testimony from a number of different troopers who were involved in the investigation with regard to this case. You'll hear some testimony from Trooper Joseph Hall, who's in a specialized unit within the state police called PARS for short, but essentially a collision analysis and reconstruction section within the Massachusetts State Police. His examination of the vehicle, his examination of the scene, his examination of specifically some Toyota texture, because Lexus is essentially owned by Toyota or vice versa. So there is some data that he's able to recover from that and back the vehicle up based on its known locations and travel, key cycles, and essentially he'll opine that around 12:45 in the morning, when the vehicle was in front of the residence on Fairview, that for some perceptible period of time, that vehicle travels over 60 feet in reverse at over approximately 24.2 miles per hour.
Let me continue.
If you could, please.
Okay.
What, if any, conclusions did you come to through the course of your investigation?
So on Saturday, January 29th, 2022, at approximately 12:45.
So you can look at your report, but you can't read your report.
I can read my conclusions based on what they asked me to do.
Okay. From your investigation, what, if any, conclusions did you come to as to where this collision occurred?
All right. So on the night of Saturday, January 2022, at approximately 12:45 hours, a 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Can you slow down, sir?
Yes.
So forget all that part,
Okay.
Trooper. Just
right.
answer the question.
Okay.
Where did it occur?
It occurred in the area of 34 Fairview Road. Correct.
My question is, do you, as you sit here, do you have any scientific evidence that those scratches occurred on January 29th at approximately 12:45 a.m.?
What do you mean by scientific evidence?
The defendant's phone did at approximately 12:36 a.m.
So by looking at the timeline in the phone, we're able to see that Ms. Reed's phone auto-connected to John OKeefe's Wi-Fi at his house at 12:36 a.m. We know this because it's a password-protected access to the phone, so you would have to know the password to get into this Wi-Fi network.
And that would be the home in 1 Meadows Avenue, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You had testified on direct examination that Karen Reed's phone connected to the Wi-Fi at 1 Meadows Ave at approximately 12:36 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
So you can testify based on that by 12:36 in the morning, Karen Reed was not at 34 Fairview, correct?
That's correct.
Can you explain to the jury what a retrograde extrapolation is?
Sure. A retrograde extrapolation is another service that the laboratory offers, where it's a calculation that we can perform when we have a alcohol concentration that was measured at a particular time, and it would be helpful or relevant to know what that person's blood alcohol concentration was at some point prior to that sample having been collected. Our results for this calculation are always expressed in a range to ensure that that individual's actual blood alcohol concentration lies somewhere between the range that we provide.
And what time was utilized in your analysis as the time of vehicle operation or of incident?
12:45 a.m., January 29th, 2022.
And do you know where that time came from?
I believe it was the time specified in the request from the district attorney's office.
And why is time of operation or time of incident important?
Because the time interval that we use in the calculation depends on the starting and the ending point of that calculation. So the time of incident is important because that's what we're basing the math on. That based on the 93 milligrams per deciliter value that was obtained at Good Samaritan, that the blood alcohol concentration for that individual at 12:45 a.m. Could be between 0.14 and 0.28 grams per cent.
And so you calculated the defendant's blood alcohol concentration to be between 0.14 and 0.28 at 12:45 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is so importante.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions.
Right. So Lally is talking to this girl, right? Which leads me to believe that this is somebody from the last trial that they didn't talk to. And that's probably why she's giving the time of the incident as 12:45, because that's Lally's timeline. And she's not there at 12:45. She's home 10 minutes before that, 9 minutes before that. And Jenn, 12:40, everyone, 12:45. Remember, Jackson's asking her about, you saw the car at 12:45. You're calling 12:45.
I just want to clear up one of the time frames that you indicated you last saw that SUV. You saw that SUV for the final time at 12:45 a.m., correct? It was up past the flagpole at that point.
Can't be sure of a specific time.
You indicated at a prior hearing in June of 2023 that you in fact did see it for the last time at 12:45, and you know that because of a text message that you sent at 12:45. Is that right?
I did send a text message at 12:45. That is correct.
You stated, quote, "So I think my husband and I were talking just like about what they were doing." And then I sat back down, and then at one point I think I said hello. And then I said at 12:42, "Where are you?" And then flip, I don't know if that's my last text or if I did one more. Yeah, 12:45, hello. Because they were still there. And then question, so the dark SUV was still outside the house at 12:45. Answer, at 12:45. Do you remember that question and answer colloquy back in June of 2023?
I've been asked a number of questions, specifically those words, no. Myself to John, hello, at 12:45.
And at 12:45, you texted hello, correct?
Correct.
So that's 5 text messages, and each time you texted him, you were walking to the door and looking out at the vehicle as you're texting, correct?
I know for the first 2 I was.
And as a matter of fact, you looked every single time that you texted, you indicated that you looked out at the SUV and saw something that prompted you to text something, correct?
Correct.
And then after the last time, which would be 5 times, 5 texts, 5 looks, after the last time you texted, you got back up, which would be a 6th time, and the SUV was gone. Just chronologically.
Correct.
The answer is correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then you saw the SUV gone. It had driven away after 12:45.
Correct.
Does that refresh your recollection, Mr. McCabe, what you said in June of 2023 about seeing the SUV at the location at 12:45?
I see what I read. Sorry. I saw what I just read. I don't remember my exact words of every testimony, but I did just read that, yes.
And in fact, what you said back in June of 2023, quote, "I don't know if it's my last text or if I did one more. Yeah, 12:45, hello." Because they were still there, period, correct?
That's a part of what I said.
And then the question was, so the dark SUV was still outside the house at 12:45, answer, at 12:45.
They all said 12:45 was basically their time of death. But because no one knew that she connected to the Wi-Fi at 12:36. They accounted for the snowstorm. They accounted for the street sweeping guy. They accounted for text messages. They didn't account for GPS and certain other like embedded data, like connecting to the Wi-Fi. Who would have fucking thought that that would have even, they had so much of a story to create that just didn't click in their mind. So this chick coming in from the last trial's efforts says the time of the incident is 12:45. What? Who told you that? Why did you pick that time? Ask, because it's according to Brennan, like, Brennan, why do you think they picked this time? Ask Lally, because he had a whole different theory going into this.